The story begins in the dead of night, where the thick fog clings to the winding back roads of West Virginia like a suffocating shroud. The only light cutting through the darkness comes from the high beams of a rusted pickup truck, its engine growling as it speeds down Route 2 near Point Pleasant. Inside the cab, a grizzled trucker named Earl grips the wheel, his knuckles white. The radio crackles between bursts of static, a weather report, then a fragment of a news bulletin about unexplained sightings in the area. Earl scoffs, muttering to himself about superstitious nonsense, but his eyes keep flicking to the rearview mirror. Then, movement. A shadow, too large to be a bird, darts across the road ahead. Earl jerks the wheel, heart pounding, but when he looks again, there's nothing, just the empty highway stretching into the fog. He exhales, shaking his head. Probably just a damn owl. But then the radio dies. Complete silence. The cab's interior lights flicker, and in that moment, Earl sees it, reflected in his windshield before he can turn around. A towering figure, black as oil, standing in the middle of the road. Its wings stretch wide, blotting out the trees, and its eyes, oh God, its eyes burn like two smoldering coals in the dark. Earl slams the brakes. The truck skids, fishtails, and then impact. Metal screams as the pickup flips, rolling into the ditch. The world spins in a blur of shattered glass and crumpled steel before everything goes still. Silence. Then, a slow, scraping sound. Something is moving outside the wreck. A shadow looms over the cab. The driver's side door is wrenched open with inhuman strength. Earl, dazed and bleeding, looks up into those glowing red eyes. His breath catches. A choked whisper escapes him. Mothman. A final, ear-splitting shriek pierces the night, then nothing. By the time dawn breaks, all that's left is the wrecked truck, its cab empty, no blood, no body, just Earl's worn-out cap lying in the mud, and a single twisted feather, too large to belong to any bird, stuck to the broken windshield. The morning sun does little to warm the quiet unease hanging over Point Pleasant, as Sarah Mercer, a sharp-eyed journalist from Chicago, steps out of her rental car and into the town's only diner, the TNT Spot, a nod to the old explosives factory that once operated nearby. She's here on assignment, chasing rumors of the Mothman after a string of disappearances made national headlines. To her, it's just another case of mass hysteria, a creepy legend blown out of proportion by bored locals and internet conspiracy theorists. The diner is a relic of the 1960s, its checkered floors and vinyl booths frozen in time. The few patrons, mostly older men in trucker caps and flannel, fall silent when she walks in. Their eyes follow her as she takes a seat at the counter. She ignores them, flipping open her notebook, already drafting the opening lines of her exposé. The so-called Mothman is nothing more than a desperate town's attempt to explain tragedy, or a clever hoax to draw in tourists. The diner's owner, Walter Hines, a grizzled man in his late 60s with a permanent frown, slides a cup of coffee toward her without asking. "You're that reporter, ain't ya?" He grunts. "Here to make fools of us all over again?" Sarah smirks, stirring her coffee. "Just looking for the truth." Walter exhales through his nose, then reaches under the counter. He slaps a yellowed newspaper clipping in front of her. December 16th, 1967. Silver Bridge collapse kills 46. Survivors report winged creature before disaster. "You want the truth?" Walter says, voice low. "That thing's been here before, and every time it shows up, people die." Sarah scans the article, her skepticism wavering for the first time. The details are too specific. Eyewitness accounts of a red-eyed beast seen lurking near the bridge in the weeks before it fell. She tries to rationalize it, mass panic, optical illusions, but something in Walter's tone makes her hesitate. Before she can press him further, the diner's small TV buzzes with a breaking news alert. Another local man reported missing, last seen near the old railroad tracks. The patrons exchange nervous glances. One mutters, "Just like Earl Jenkins last week." Walter leans in, his breath smelling of tobacco and stale coffee. "You think we're all crazy? Fine. But mark my words, Missy, that thing ain't done yet, and if you're smart, you'll get out of here before it chooses you." Sarah shivers despite herself. The diner's bell jingles as the door opens, and a young deputy walks in, clean-cut, early 30s, with the weary look of a man caught between duty and doubt. He eyes Sarah with suspicion. "Deputy Collins," Walter says, nodding at him. "This here's the reporter, trying to tell her what she's poking at." Collins sighs. "Ma'am, you really ought to leave this alone." Sarah raises an eyebrow. "Why? Because the Mothman might get me?" The deputy's expression darkens. "Number. Because the more people dig, the more it notices." A beat of silence. The TV static hisses like a warning. Sarah looks down at the newspaper clipping again. For the first time, she wonders if she's in over her head. The air in the woods is thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. The late afternoon sun casting long skeletal shadows through the trees. Sarah Mercer trudges forward, her boots sinking slightly into the soft ground, her camera hanging heavy around her neck. Deputy Collins walks a few paces ahead, his hand resting on his holstered sidearm like he expects trouble. He hadn't wanted to bring her out here, but after the diner, after Walter's warnings, Sarah had pressed. Hard. "You want me to believe this is all just some wild animal?" she had challenged, arms crossed in the station parking lot. "Then show me the evidence." Now, as they approach the site where the latest missing person was last seen, she can feel the deputy's tension radiating off him. The forest is too quiet. No birds, no rustling of small animals in the underbrush. Just the creak of branches in the wind. Then, they find it. A stretch of disturbed earth, deep gouges raked into the dirt, too large to be from any dog or coyote. And a few feet away, half hidden in the brush, the mangled carcass of a deer. Its ribs are splayed open, the organs gone, as if something had torn into it with terrifying efficiency. Sarah swallows hard, lifting her camera to snap photos. What the hell could do this? Collins exhales sharply. Bear, maybe, or a cougar. But his voice lacks conviction. Sarah crouches, examining the ground. There are footprints, if they can even be called that. They're elongated, with strange claw-like indentations at the front. She presses her fingers into one. The soil is still damp, fresh. "Deputy," she says slowly, "have you ever seen a bear track that looks like this?" Before he can answer, a sound cuts through the trees, a low guttural clicking, like the chitter of an insect, but deeper, more resonant. Sarah's breath catches. Collins goes rigid, his hand tightening on his gun. "We should go," he mutters. Sarah stands, turning toward the sound. "Did you hear?" Then movement. A shadow shifts between the trees, too fast, too fluid. A shape darker than the surrounding gloom, tall and hunched, with something wrong about the way it moves. For half a heartbeat, Sarah sees it clearly. The silhouette of wings, folded tight against its back, the faintest glint of red where its eyes should be. Collins grabs her arm, yanking her back toward the trail. I said we're leaving. She stumbles after him, her pulse roaring in her ears. She risks one last glance over her shoulder, but when she reviews her photos later, zooming in on the blurred edges of the trees, she finds something the naked eye had missed. A smudge of darkness, two pinpricks of light burning like embers in the pixelated gloom. The Point Pleasant Public Library is a relic of another time, its oak-paneled walls lined with yellowing newspapers, its air thick with the scent of aging paper and dust. Sarah Mercer sits hunched over a microfiche machine, the glow of the screen casting eerie shadows across her face. She's been here for hours, digging through decades of local history, and what she's found makes her skin crawl. Every major tragedy in Point Pleasant's past, the Silver Bridge collapse in '67, the TNT plant explosion in the '50s, even a deadly fire at the old asylum in the '30s, was preceded by reports of a winged figure with burning red eyes. The descriptions are always the same: a shadow with wings, a sound like screaming metal, the smell of ozone and something rotten. But the most chilling detail? The victims weren't random. They were people who knew things. A whistleblower at the chemical plant who was about to expose safety violations before the bridge fell. A journalist nosing around the asylum's abuses before it burned. And now, Earl Jenkins, the trucker who vanished last week, had been asking questions about the new industrial waste shipments upriver. Sarah's hands tremble as she pulls another file, this one marked confidential in faded red ink. Inside are police reports from the 1960s, interviews with witnesses who claimed to have seen the Mothman talking to someone, a man in a suit near the bridge the night it collapsed. The description matches photos of Richard Vaughn, a corporate liaison for the now defunct Silver Bridge Construction Company. Vaughn, the same last name as the current mayor. A floorboard creaks behind her. Sarah whirls around to see an old woman standing in the dim light, Marianne Cole, the town's sole survivor of the bridge disaster. Her milky eyes fix on Sarah with unsettling clarity. "You found the pattern," Marianne rasps. "That thing doesn't just warn, it cleans up. For them." Sarah's throat goes dry. "Who's them?" Before Marianne can answer, the library door bursts open. A man in an expensive overcoat strides in. Alan Vaughn, the mayor's son and PR rep for the chemical plant. His smile is all polished teeth, but his eyes are cold. "Ms. Mercer," he says smoothly. "I heard you were in town. Thought we might talk. Over dinner." Marianne grips Sarah's wrist, her nails biting in. "Don't go with him," she whispers. "That's how they choose." Vaughn's smile doesn't waver. "Ignore the ramblings of an old woman. We have so much to discuss." He slides a business card across the table. "My offer's generous, enough to make your little investigation disappear." Sarah stares at the card. The chemical plant's logo gleams under the library lights. The same logo stamped on the waste shipment forms Earl Jenkins had been asking about. When she looks up, Marianne is gone, and outside the window, perched on a power line, something dark shifts in the gathering twilight. The rain comes down in sheets as Sarah sprints through the abandoned TNT factory grounds, her breath ragged, her heart hammering against her ribs. The abandoned bunkers loom like tombstones in the storm, their concrete walls slick with decades of grime. She shouldn't have come here alone. But after Vaughn's thinly veiled threat at the library, she needed answers. Fast. Now she's being hunted. It started when she broke into the old factory office, flashlight in hand, digging through rusted filing cabinets. She found the records, proof that Vaughn Chemical had been dumping toxic waste into the river for years. that the accidental leaks were anything but. Then the power went out, and something landed on the roof. The first sign was the sound, a wet, leathery snap of wings folding, then the scratching, slow, deliberate, like claws dragging across the corrugated metal above her. Sarah froze. The scratching stopped. Then, bang! Something slammed into the side of the building hard enough to shake dust from the rafters. She bolted out the back door just as the roof caved in behind her, the night air splitting with an unearthly shriek. Now, as she weaves between crumbling bunkers, she can hear it behind her, the heavy flap of wings, the guttural clicking noise she remembers from the woods. It's playing with her, letting her run. She ducks into a narrow tunnel, pressing herself against the dripping concrete. The stench of mold and something fouler. Sarah stifles a scream. The fingers are too long, the skin mottled and gray. They flex, digging grooves into the concrete. It knows she's here. A flash of lightning illuminates the tunnel's far end, a rusted grate barely hanging on its hinges. She lunges for it, shoulders slamming against the metal, once, twice. With a shriek of rusted metal, it gives way. She tumbles out into the mud just as the Mothman's shriek echoes through the tunnel behind her. Scrambling to her feet, she spots her car across the field, so close. She doesn't look back. Keys fumbling, she wrenches the door open and slams her foot on the gas. The tires spin in the mud before catching. As she peels onto the road, her rearview mirror reflects a nightmare. The Mothman perched atop a bunker, wings spread wide, its glowing eyes locked on her fleeing car. Then, impossibly, it smiles. The dam groans like a dying beast. Sarah stands at the edge of the evacuation zone, rain lashing her face as the floodwaters rise. The town's sirens wail, but their sound is nearly drowned out by the terrible creaking of stressed concrete. She should be running with the others, should be climbing into the deputy's cruiser and speeding to safety. But she can't move, because she sees him. Vaughn. The corporate rep stands on the dam's walkway, barking orders into a radio, his expensive shoes slick with river water. Even now, as the structure cracks behind him, he's trying to control the narrative. Sarah can read his lips. No mention of the structural reports. Call it a natural disaster. Then the wind shifts. A smell hits her. Ozone, and something sweetly rotten. The hairs on her arms stand up. It's here. The Mothman materializes atop a floodlight tower, wings flexing, his silhouette cutting through the storm. But Vaughn doesn't see him, not until it's too late. With a sound like tearing metal, the creature drops. Sarah watches, frozen, as the Mothman slams into Vaughn, talons sinking into his shoulders. The man doesn't even have time to scream before he's lifted, his polished loafers kicking helplessly over the churning water. For one horrific second, the tableau holds. The Mothman hovering, Vaughn dangling like a broken puppet, the dam crumbling beneath them. Then the creature jerks its wings wide. Vaughn's body hits the collapsing concrete just as the dam gives way. The flood takes him first. Sarah stumbles back as the wall of water roars toward town, but the Mothman doesn't flee. It turns its head. Those hellish red eyes lock onto hers across the chaos. And then it bows, like a performer after a show. Then the wings snap open, and it's gone into the storm. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.